Hospitals and health centers upgraded, equipment purchased to improve services.
Modernizing our approach, modernizing our equipment is fundamental, and today I think is the start of that process.
A review of the undertakings of the Ministry of Health in 2016 coming up in today's show. Plus, building awareness around cervical cancer. I'm Audrey Williams, and this is Jamaica Magazine. Stay with us.
Violence against women and girls is a human problem, not just a woman's problem. It's a problem for men too. Gender violence takes many forms, including sexual assault, domestic violence, relationship abuse, sexual harassment, and sexual abuse of children. The magnitude of ongoing violence against women and children in our country is cause for alarm. We can end the violence. It requires all of us to end the violence. I call on all our men and women in Jamaica to take a stand. And men, especially, must get involved in this movement to create a better world for their daughters, their mothers, their sisters, their aunts, their uncles, their fathers, their sons, and for themselves. Let's protect and reassure. Let's unite to end gender violence.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Thursday, January 12. For the next 3 months, the police will be placing increased focus on violence reduction and the maintenance of public order. Newly appointed Acting Commissioner of Police, ACP Novelet Grant, made that announcement in a media briefing yesterday.
So for my 90 days, acting in this capacity, we will work together internally and we will work externally with the public. We expect compliance from citizens, and we expect the police to enforce the law without favor, affection, malice, or ill will.
ACP Grant says violence reduction will be targeted through strategic and focused deployment of assets, especially in high-crime divisions. Operation Tidal Wave, which involves heightened and targeted police activities, is to be re-energized with the support of specialist formations and the JDF. The acting police commissioner says the Community Safety and Security Branch will also be a lot more visible to do complementary crime prevention and reduction work.
Special focus will be on gender-based and domestic violence, youth violence, community violence, conflict management, and they have been mandated already to intensify the work to be done in Western Jamaica.
Predial larceny prevention and counter-gang operations will also be ramped up, and there is to be an increase in narcotics work. The Get the Guns campaign will continue. In the meantime, the Acting Commissioner of Police is again calling on citizens to support law enforcement's efforts to arrest Jamaica's crime problem and reduce the country's high murder rate. In 2016, Jamaica recorded 1,350 murders, 81% committed using the gun and 65.6% gang-related.
We should all as Jamaicans consider this shameful and alarming, because every single life matters. Crime and violence in Jamaica is a multifaceted and complex phenomenon. Law enforcement cannot be the only solution. Hence, there's this constant call for social intervention.
Even as she decries the state of Jamaica's crime situation, ACP Grant says the police are finding success in their operations. In 2016, the JCF had a murder clear-up rate of 57% and arrested 1,436 persons for breaches of the Firearms Act. 16,932 offensive weapons were seized, including 689 guns. 9,376 rounds of ammunition were also seized under the Get the Guns campaign, and 1,549 stolen motor vehicles recovered. The narcotics unit seized 34,627 pounds of ganja and 1,240.8 kilograms of cocaine with an estimated value of $11 million. The National Strategic Anti-Gang Unit impacted 20 gangs, resulting in 356 members being arrested for gang-related charges. 3 drugs for gun syndicates were dismantled with the seizure of 19 firearms and 2,275 assorted ammunitions.
We want these gang members and the criminal suspects associated with them, that we know who you are. We know the major criminal suspects, and we will continue to pursue you relentlessly until you're caught and brought before justice.
In other news, government has increased the funding to the hotline set up to receive reports of child abuse. Minister of Education, Youth and Information, Senator Ruel Reid, says this will allow the service to operate 24 hours instead of the current 12 hours daily. The 1-888-PROTECT hotline was set up by the Office of the Children's Registry. Minister Reid says the National Parenting Support Commission will also be provided with an additional $25.8 million in the 2017-2018 budget to more effectively provide key parenting skills at the community level. These moves are in response to recent reports of abuse against minors, including the case involving a 15-year-old girl who was allegedly found in a compromising position with a 64-year-old minister of religion.
Given the grave nature of the allegations, the response must be swift in ensuring that the welfare of the minors and siblings involved are taken care of, and also that the law is fully enforced in accordance with due process.
The Information Minister says the Child Development Agency has provided psychological assessment and counseling support to the victim, while members of her family have been referred to the Children and Family Support Unit. The CDA will also be engaging the family through parenting workshops. Going forward, Minister Reid says government will be providing a significant increase in funding for state child care facilities for the next financial year.
So I just want us to know that we're not only hearing the cries of the children and Jamaica generally, but we are responding in a very positive and fulsome way.
The procurement of goods and services for projects financed by the Inter-American Development Bank, IDB, can now be done through the National Procurement System of Jamaica. This was finalized on Wednesday with a signing between the Ministry of Finance and the IDB for partial use of the system. Finance Minister Audley Shaw says the agreement is a clear indication of the IDB's confidence in the strides Jamaica continues to make in procurement reform.
The government welcomes this marked achievement and anticipates that the gains to be realized through the implementation of this agreement will be used as a catalyst that will positively impact the success of future projects in Jamaica as we strive to achieve sustained economic growth and prosperity for our island.
The IDB signing is the first with a Caribbean country. General Manager of the Country Department Caribbean Group, Therese Turner-Jones, says the IDB acknowledges the growth in Jamaica's governance systems, which has put it on par with other Latin American countries.
The signing of this agreement today may also be viewed as the first formal step in a series of steps towards the full endorsement of Jamaica's public procurement system and policies to govern procurement processes that are classified under the National Competitive Bidding Procurement Methodology in all of IDB financed operations.
And finally, Prime Minister Andrew Holness has met with his Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu in Jerusalem and has invited him to make an official visit to Jamaica. The two men discussed possibilities for cooperation in water, agriculture, and domestic security. Pointing to Israel's advances in technology and agriculture, Mr. Holness said the potential for cooperation between the two countries was great. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, meanwhile, said the first ever visit of a Jamaican Prime Minister to Israel was of great significance. He welcomed the opportunity to extend cooperation between both countries and thanked Jamaica for its support of Israel in international affairs. Prime Minister Andrew Holness is on a 3-day working visit to Israel. Minister Horace Chang is in charge of the government until his return on January 15. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
A healthy and educated people living in a clean, natural environment, reducing crime, improving the justice system and governance, building a prosperous economy. It's not just a vision, it's reality. Learn about the plan. Join the vision.
My country, Jamaica, has a rich heritage and is very unique. If we all pull together, we can make it the place of choice to live, work, raise family, and to do business.
For more information on Vision 2030, call the Planning Institute of Jamaica or visit vision2030.gov.jm, your parish library, school library, or the Jamaica Information Service.
In 2016, the Ministry of Health executed several measures to protect public health against threats such as ZIKV, while making fundamental changes to the delivery of health services. Here's a full report of what was achieved.
The government changed early in the year, but the resolve for a healthy and prosperous nation was unwavering. This is the Health Year in Review, as captured through our lens.
A World Bank-led benchmarking cost review has commenced. This will facilitate taking the necessary steps to reapportion expenditures to ensure the greatest levels of efficiency.
Government maintained its no-user-fee policy in 2016, but also made this policy move.
I signed an approval for the gazetting of revised fees to be collected from private insurers who interface with the public health system.
The National Health Fund, meanwhile, doubled its medication subsidy to children enrolled in the program. The Health Ministry delivered a number of infrastructural improvements in 2016. A memorandum of understanding was signed for the upgrading of the Alexandria Community Hospital in St. Anne. Another was inked to develop the Jamaica Children's Heart Center at the Bustamante Hospital for Children. A $63 million contract was signed for the final phase of major construction, drainage and electrical installation at the Isaac Barrett Center of Excellence in St. Thomas. The Percy Junior Hospital got an improved driveway, parking area, security post and new chain link fence. 3 renovated wards were reopened at the Kingston Public Hospital. And the ministry broke ground for the construction of a state-of-the-art cancer treatment center at St. Joseph's Hospital. In 2016, the National Health Fund provided $68.5 million to purchase a new fluoroscopy unit for the Bustamante Hospital for Children.
Modernizing our approach, modernizing our equipment is fundamental, and today I think is the start of that process.
6 referral hospitals received maternal and neonatal high-dependency units under the program for the reduction of maternal and child mortality.
The equipment being provided will facilitate highly specialized radiographic technology, critical care ventilation, and specialized patient monitoring.
And after Cabinet approved the Charities Policy and Procedures Guidelines for gifts and donations to the Ministry of Health, the donations poured in. $2 million in pharmaceuticals from Issa Trust Foundation, 26 hospital beds from J. Ray and Nephew and Food for the Poor, a blood gas analyzer machine and advanced patient monitors from Guardian Group Limited, an optical coherence tomogram for KPH from Church of the Latter-day Saints, 1 delivery bed and 2 cardiotachograph for Victoria Jubilee Hospital from NAJ UK chapter, 1,100 wheelchairs from the Errol Rattray Evangelistic Association and Jamaica Mobility, surgical equipment for Mandeville Regional Hospital ENT Department, plus cardiac monitor for Maypen Hospital from Jamaican Canadian Association of Nurses. The country had to contend with a number of public health risks in 2016. The UWI Microbiology Lab completed a $10 million upgrade to test for the Zika virus and other pathogens.
The waiting period to determine infection has been significantly reduced because previously cases had to be sent overseas.
National cleanup activities, fever and rash surveillance, house visits and a fogging blitz were among the measures employed to fight Zika. There were also targeted interventions to protect pregnant women and their babies. And as the flu season approached, the ministry took a policy decision to make the flu vaccine available to a wider group of Jamaicans. In 2016, the Ministry of Health successfully tested a prototype to reduce patients' waiting time in hospitals.
What is happening, I am told preliminarily, reports, is that the 2, the 3, the 4, and the 5-hour extension in some cases of those clinics is taking the pressure off the accident and emergency room. And that is exactly what we want to achieve.
The Ministry of Health in 2016, setting the foundation for a healthy and prosperous nation. Know your numbers and control the keys to a healthier heart. Know the numbers for your blood pressure, cholesterol level, blood glucose level, and your weight and body mass index. Find out the risks they represent and what you need to do to stay healthy. Talk to your doctor and start making healthy lifestyle choices to prevent a heart attack or stroke.
The Jamaica Cancer Society is encouraging women to do their regular pap smear tests as it joins the rest of the world in building awareness around cervical cancer this month.
Since the early 1950s, fewer women have had to suffer the devastation of cervical cancer. Since the early 1950s, the fight against this deadly disease has adopted a preemptive weapon for saving lives. Today, the pap smear continues to be the best defense against cervical cancer. Statistics show that the Ministry of Health carries out an average of 45,000 pap smear tests annually through health centers island-wide. The Jamaica Cancer Society tests an average of 8 to 10,000, while another 60,000 are tested through private facilities. But there is evidence that even with such intense testing, some 175,000 to 200,000 women who are at risk are yet to be screened.
And what our doctors will share with you is that those women who have been diagnosed with cervical cancer, a good percentage of those women have never done a pap smear in their life.
So the Jamaica Cancer Society, the JCS, is positioning itself to help stem the number of new cases of cervical cancer among women by ramping up its pap smear campaign. April is being observed as Cancer Awareness Month, and the JCS is using that observance to appeal to women between the ages of 21 and 55 to do their annual pap smear test. The message is that early detection increases the chance for effective treatment.
This is what we're trying to encourage and to mobilize our Jamaican women to really, understand the situation that is out there, right? And to really start engaging in a healthy lifestyle and to really start practicing to have your pap smear done, because right now screening is your best defense.
Cervical cancer is said to be the second leading cause of death among women in Jamaica, and the Cancer Society's executive director says 20 out of every 100,000 women are diagnosed each year, with another 250 women dying from the disease. She laments that this is high for a population of over 2.6 million people.
The Jamaica Cancer Society is very committed, and our focus is about stemming the incidence of this disease and, by extension, eliminating death.
Working with the theme, screening and a healthy lifestyle practice, your best defense in the fight against cancer, the JCS is hosting a series of educational sessions every Friday in April. The sessions will be held at the Cancer Society's head office in Kingston.
We have beefed up our human resource for this period, and we have also gone out and identified partners from the pharmaceutical world and from the insurance industry to come on board with us, to place us in a better position to offer free pap smear to a specific number of persons and to host these educational forums.
A highlight of the campaign is a medical symposium planned for Sunday, April 28 at the University of the West Indies Medical Sciences Theatre building.
I use this opportunity to make an appeal to all the Jamaican women out there who are at risk for cervical cancer to come in during this period, to get screened, to attend the education forum, and to be informed about cervical cancer and how you can protect yourself and your families.
Nutritious food, succulent dishes, superior workmanship, and excellent service. Jamaica is on the go. Let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Let's harness the indomitable spirit of our most valued resource, our people. Let's support our local businesses. After all, buying Jamaican means building Jamaica.
Up next, the Ministry of Education's drive to ensure learning among students with special needs.
When we hear the word dyslexia, what comes to mind? Reading what's not on the paper? Mispronouncing words? Well, that's true, because dyslexia is a disability which involves difficulty in learning to read or interpret words, letters, or symbols. We have students with this disability in our education system, and they are being supported by the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. Let me welcome Acting Assistant Chief Education Officer in the Special Education Unit in the Ministry, Mrs. Ann Newman, who will share with us the Ministry's approach to helping these students. Welcome.
Thank you, Carrie.
All right, so many persons have the perception that persons or students with dyslexia are dunce. Please clear that up for us.
Well, we never, in educational circles, we don't use the word dunce. We should try not to, because persons who have specific learning disabilities are persons who are of average or above average intelligence. That means they have the capacity to learn, problem solve, and do whatever they want to do in terms of a profession. But they have a processing disorder. And dyslexia speaks to a processing disorder that affects their ability to interact with written, print, and the spoken word.
Okay, so how can we actually help these students?
Okay, the first step in special ed is always diagnosis. So once students are not doing well in the learning of reading, then they ought to be referred for an assessment. And once the assessment is done, it will show what the child's strengths and weaknesses are. We do remediation by using their strengths to teach them, as well as remediating their weaknesses. So the assessment report will usually give recommendations and strategies that would best suit that child.
Okay, so what's their learning style like?
Okay, there's no one size fit all.
As is the norm.
Everybody has their own learning style. Some of us tend to be auditory learners, some visual, some kinesthetic. So we recommend that in a mixed class, teachers use a variety or a combination of those strategies. Now, when you have dyslexia, very often you're not a very good visual learner, but you may be a good auditory learner.
Wow, okay.
So what we would do to compensate for that is we would have other persons read for them or use programs. These days with the technology, there are lots of apps that can be downloaded, some of them free of cost, that help to read for students.
Or is there a policy that guides schools as to how to treat these students and other special needs, for example, students?
Yes, our policy, our special education policy is still in the draft stage. At this moment, the Education System Transformation Project is visiting regions and doing sensitizations with stakeholders before it is sent to cabinet. So it's in an advanced state, but we have guidelines that inform what we do in the system. And our teachers are exposed to these guidelines. One of the things that we do for a person who may be dyslexic is once they have been diagnosed officially, that person can qualify for what we call accommodation, extra time, sometimes a reader, in or national examinations. And schools that do the national exams know this, and they apply to the student assessment unit for this accommodation. And we also, from the special education unit, and we also have special needs coordinators out in the main schools, facilitate workshops, staff development for teachers who need this sort of support. We're always available.
Okay.
And Kerry, it may be useful for us to share a few tips with you for parents or teachers who are dealing with students who have dyslexia. Dyslexia, 3 of the manifestations of dyslexia are usually reversals, substitutions. And reversal, I mean that they reverse words or letters. They
so
substitute.
P, or BD, sort of like that, seeing B as D and
exactly,
so on?
Exactly. Or saw for was.
Okay.
Those sort of examples. So they have reversals, or they substitute some words. When they can't fully pronounce it, they put in a word that has a similar configuration, or they are just very disfluent in reading. And for them, it becomes a very frustrating exercise to learn to read. So a lot of students who are dyslexic become very frustrated with this process, this critical process. So some of the tips that we use with teachers, we say to teachers in a classroom, if you realize that you have a struggling reader in your class, never put them on the spot. Never ask them to read aloud in front of others, because it's just going to heighten the anxiety. But what you can do is do more peer reading with that student. So if you have a good reader, and especially if they're friends, and to say I'm putting it in quotation because you don't want always to have friends together. But if you have a good reader in your class, you can assign that person to help read for that child so they're not always heard audibly. And then you can play a lot of games, because remember, the person is of average or above average intelligence. So if you converse with them, you would never detect that they have a learning difficulty. So do more things, use their strengths, so their auditory skills, conversing with them, and having them access information through tapes and that sort of thing is very helpful for a child who may be having a learning disability. And of course, we're in the technology age, using the technology as I earlier suggested.
Oh, those apps and so on that you mentioned.
Yes, the apps, yes.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you so much. Important tips for us to use. And when I say us, I mean parents, teachers, friends. Thank you again, Mrs. Newman.
You're most welcome.
It
It was my pleasure.
Okay, thank you.
That's how we bring the curtains down on our show for today. But if you want to see it again, log on to our website at jis.gov.jm. We always welcome your feedback, so keep sending your comments to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm or via tweet at JIS News. Our team will be back with another show tomorrow, same time, same station. On behalf of the production crew, I'm Audrey Williams. Take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.